right, this is number 3 on practice exam AB3. And I want to work this one just a little bit different than what the... Startled me. It's 2:45, time to go home. I want to work this one just a little bit different than what part A says to do. So I drew a rough sketch of f prime of x. So that's just assume that that's a graph of the derivative. And we want to try to figure out everything that we can possibly figure out about f of x from the graph of the derivative. Everything we can about f of x. Okay, so I've already listed everything out. I just want to talk through them here. So where are the critical points? Well, the critical points occur where f prime of x is equal to 0. Remember, we set the derivative equal to 0 to get the critical point. So if you're looking at a graph, you can find the critical points just by seeing where that graph is equal to 0. So that occurs at -2, at 1, and then again at 3. So there you've got your critical points. Where is f of x increasing? Okay, well, it's increasing where f prime of x is positive, where it's greater than 0. So any place on this graph where f prime of x is above the x-axis, it's positive. So that occurs between -2 and 1. So you can write the interval this way, -2 to 1, and between 3 and 5. And you may also, if you prefer, to write the intervals that way. Okay, so that is where the function's increasing. Where's the function decreases? It's decreasing where f prime of x is below the x-axis. That occurs between 1 and 3. Okay, so there's the interval. Where do we have a max? Well, it's where f prime of x goes from positive to negative. Well, it goes from positive to negative. Remember with our sign lines, all right, when we wanted to figure out a max and you had a critical point, positive, negative. So where does it go from positive to negative? At 1, right here. Okay, so that's the only max. The min occurs where f prime of x goes from negative to positive. Okay, so remember we had a min. If we have a critical point C, negative to positive, we had a min. Well, you can read the graph and see that that occurs at 3. We're going from negative below the x-axis to positive. Where do we have an inflection point? Well, it's where the slope of the derivative, the slope of the derivative is just going to be the second derivative. So the slope of the derivative, f prime of x, where it changes signs, well, it's positive here, it's flat here, and then it goes negative there. So we have an inflection point at x equals 0 because it went to negative there. It changed signs there. And it continues negative until you get to 2 right here. And there it goes from negative to positive. All right, so the inflection points are at 0 and then again at 2. Where is it concave up? Well, it's concave up where the slope of f prime is greater than 0. So we have a positive slope from -2 to -1. And then we have a positive slope from 2 to 4. All right, so concave up where the slope is positive, -2 to -1, and 2 to 4. All right, and where are we concave down? Where the slope is negative. The slope is negative from from 0 to 2. And that's it. The only negative slope is from 0 to 2. All right, so I'll give you a second to pause the video if you need to copy all of that down, but that made for a shorter video there. So that's how you read a graph of a derivative, and you're almost certainly going to have to do this possibly multiple times on the AP test.